Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. And as you can tell by the background, all you England fans, maybe close your eyes and just listen because you might be blinded. Venu wasn't happy with Dave Warner's face in the bottom left corner of the video, so it might be others of you as well. But as you can tell, we're going to be doing. It's not going to be a really in-depth review, but it will be a substantial T20 World Cup review. We'll talk a little bit about Australia, obviously winning their maiden T20 World Cup, which is a big deal. They were, I don't think anyone really thought it would happen, apart from the people that bet on them, which I'm sure they've got a lot of money now. So good for them. And then we'll talk about the final, obviously toss, which I'm sure we'll get on to, player of the tournament, which Dave Warner got, and the team of the tournament's been released as well, and a little bit about moments in the tournament, which will probably be incorporated as we go through the team of the tournament, to be fair as well, and upsets, etc. Aaron and Venu, how are you both doing?
All good, mate. All good. Yeah, obviously, first things first, even though I am an England fan, congratulations to Australia. The only success I think they're going to get in 2021 because England are coming down under with a vengeance for the Ashes. But you have to give due credit where it's due. And the fact is, Australia last night, absolutely fantastic. I know we're going to talk about this more as the show goes on, but that really was a batting masterclass in that second innings from the likes of David Warner and Mitch Marsh. So worthy winners we'll talk about a lot with regards to the tournament as today's show goes on. But yeah, to all the Aussie fans out there, enjoy it because we are coming for the 2021-22 Ashes.
Spoken like a true Englishman. Venu, how you doing? And obviously you got Australia in the sweepstakes, so you must be very smug about that.
Yeah, once again, I got lucky, just like Aaron Finch did with the tosses this. So I got lucky. But as I said, Australia have an experienced side. They've got quality in David Warner, Aaron Finch, and as Aaron said perfectly, it was a batting masterclass.
Yeah.
And I don't think that second innings at Chase, it looked easy. It just honestly looked easy. They were hitting sixes, a boundary, rotating strike really well. It was a clinical performance from Australia. And going to feel bad for the Kiwis and New Zealanders. They the third final that they've got to in what's the third final? They keep getting to finals in obviously 2015 final, 2019 World Cup final. Obviously lost narrowly to England, and now the final. They're doing a Sri Lanka, so I'm sure they'll win the fourth time around like Sri Lanka did. So yeah. But first of all, congratulations Australia. We could go on. Did they deserve to win? I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit, but yes. And one thing, Fazan, I need to change. You're not Venu quality shot, you're Fazan quality shot. I changed that yesterday.
Oh yeah, I just realised. I was like, hold on. I was like, what's Venu talking about? Yeah, Venu quality shot. Oh, it's all right, Venu. It's okay. But yeah,
so I had to change it. Sorry.
That's all right. Perfect. Well changed. But yeah, no, thank you, Venu. Yes, so that's all changed. But yeah, Australia, unlikely winners for sure. The final, what was it? 6 out of 7 tosses. Finch won. They won those 6 out of 7 games. I think it was.
The only one that they lost was the England game where they batted first.
Destroyed. Yeah. So Finch said before the match that that kind of lit a fire underneath them to make them play a bit more aggressively and go for it. And Stoinis said after that, in a very Stoinis way, that we all love each other and it's all pally and everyone's fantastic. And Zampa took a little dig at Michael Vaughan today, saying Australia obviously weren't going to be contenders, and the less said about Michael Vaughan, probably the better, given the current situation. That's for another video. But I think obviously written off by many. I didn't think they make the semis. I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, it was England, West Indies, and then South Africa and Australia kind of like, well, let's see how it goes. But that's not how it panned out. I mean, New Zealand, how disappointed were you guys with their performance? Because I thought Williamson, which let's touch upon the positives, Williamson I thought was phenomenal first. I mean, one of the best knocks I've seen in a T20 World Cup final. Go on, Manny. What are you going to say?
He did get dropped by Hazelwood on 21. So
he did.
Well, I'll just put that there.
Yeah, it could have been costly. It was a dolly as well, to be fair. But the best players make you pay, right? And he did. And I think he unfortunately wasn't helped out by the rest of the team, who didn't really. If you look at the scorecard, it looks pretty poor apart from him. Aaron, I mean, that was just, it was a knock of absolute class, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It was Kane Williamson at his utmost best. And I actually said this on the Cricket for Americans live stream. We're watching it live. And just during it, I said that Kane Williamson is one of very, very few batsmen out there in the world right now, along with the likes of Babar Azam, Joe Root, Steve Smith and Virat Kohli, where the world almost, it seems to stop and everyone seems to watch his batting. It's almost hypnotic. There's a real enticing, alluring element of watching Kane Williamson at his best. And it was an outstanding knock. It really was. If New Zealand would have won that game and would have lifted that trophy, we'd be talking about that for years to come. It was a really, really top caliber knock from one of the best batsmen on the planet right now. The only problem, though, again, he didn't have that support. He didn't have the assistance. If you look at Australia, you had Mitch Marsh, but his foil, the guy, the run accumulator that he was kind of feeding off of, was David Warner. Now, you saw little bits and pieces here and there from the likes of Martin Guptill and Glenn Phillips at times, but no one really stood in there with Kane Williamson. And in particular towards the death, that is where New Zealand will absolutely be kicking themselves. They'll be kicking themselves in hindsight because they were 57 for 1 after the first 10. They'd scored 100 runs in the next 7 overs. And then at the death, don't get me wrong, fantastic bowling from the likes of Zampa, Hazelwood and Stark, but they should have got 180, if not 190 plus at one point. So disappointing for the Kiwis, absolutely. But at the same time, they can take immense pride. I think yet again this World Cup, it shows that New Zealand are no longer dark horses. I don't think that's the right way to describe them. They are contenders, and they are contenders across all 3 formats. This is a serious team full of serious players. And I tell you what, come 2022, I think they're going to be right in the mix yet again. They really are. Remember, they didn't have Devon Conway for that final. They've missed Lockie Ferguson throughout the entire tournament. Watch out for the Black Caps. I guarantee they'll be back with a vengeance come 2022.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going anywhere. And I think if they win the final, they probably cement themselves as the best all-format team. In my eyes, they probably are. To be fair, I mean, look, if we look across all 3 formats, they made 2 ODI World Cup finals. They made a T20 World Cup final recently. They've won the Test Championship. I mean, all they need to do is, look, if they win all of them, then of course they 100% are. But I think the fact is, England are probably the best white ball side, but the Test side kind of pales in comparison to New Zealand. We've seen that, I think. Whereas New Zealand are probably just a rung below England, potentially in the white ball side, but their Test side is very, very good, potentially the best around. So I think as an all-format side, they are a powerhouse, and people should definitely not forget that because of one loss in a final. But Venu, I mean, they were a little bit disappointing, I think, in terms of obviously defending that total as well. It's not, I would say it's probably par, maybe potentially a little bit above par, but the bowlers didn't really back them up apart from Bolt, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Ish Sodhi was quite poor as well. I think he was one of the most wasteful bowlers of the night. Just not really any standout performances with the ball, really, apart from Trent Bolt getting the crucial wicket of, was it David Warner when he bowled him? A crucial moment there. And he just needed his other bowlers just to step in and get a couple of wickets there and really turn that game around. But I think the game was probably more or less gone by then. But and also there's just there were a lot of shots that dropped short of the fielders as well. They didn't really get a bit of a luck as well. There's quite a lot of shots that went into the deep that just bounced before the fielders, I thought, and they didn't really get the luck. And obviously not winning the toss, but I thought it was a pass score, and I think Aaron made a fantastic point about, they accelerated really well after a slow start. I think the 100 of 7 overs, and then they'll be kicking themselves. Why didn't we get? During the live stream, I said 190 was possible, and they just didn't. Obviously, they had Jimmy Neesham as well. I think he hit 6 early on, but it was just credit to the Australians. They kind of took momentum back at the end and saved that 15, 20 runs at the end, and that probably saved them the match there.
Yeah, agreed. I think, Warner was impressive as he has been, to be fair, throughout the tournament, which in some people's eyes is a little bit, surprising given, I think, obviously, he hadn't had a fantastic franchise tournament recently in the IPL. Mitch Marsh, who had been written off a little bit by others, dropped in one of the games as well, but has been very, very consistent for Australia this year in T20s. Came up trumps, really. First ball, dispatched Milne for 6. Second ball, ran down to third man for 4. and it just continued in that vein. And he was, phenomenal, to be honest with you, throughout that final, and I think showed that. I'm kind of just going to park the final to one side. Is there anything you guys want to specifically talk about on the final before we move on?
Can I just say one final thing
Yeah.
with regards to Ish Sodhi in particular? I'm going to be honest with regards to the pre-final talk, the chat beforehand about Mitch Marsh and his perceived vulnerability against leg spin in particular. Sky Sports even did a whole piece about it with regards to his playing of Winnindu Hasaranga and Adil Rashid. I think that puts some extra pressure on Ish Sodhi's shoulders, and you could see that yesterday. He was dropping it in way too short. It was over pitching as well. He was searching for wickets. I think the pressure of the situation, and let me just tell you something again, I don't play at that level, obviously. You're never going to see me in a World Cup final, but when you know someone has got a weakness against something, and the onus, the emphasis is on you as a bowler, you know that you can get them out and you are expected to get them out. That puts a whole different level of pressure on your shoulders in a group stage game, let alone a final. So I think that did creep into Ish Sodhi's game. But with that being said, again, it wasn't just Ish Sodhi. Okay, the rest of the bowling attack just wasn't good enough yesterday. And just one final thing about Mitch Marsh as well. That was a statement, wasn't it, against Adam Milne? I said this on the live stream. The fact is, Adam Milne, we've watched it so many times for Kent this season. In the T20 Blast, he's done it all around the world, for New Zealand and in different franchise tournaments. He's the kind of X-factor bowler who can single-handedly put a stranglehold on a game. If you allow him to build pressure, he'll take 2-3 wickets. What does Mitch Marsh do? Scores 14 from his first 3 balls and then rotates the strike. Outstanding. So, well played, Mitch Marsh. That's all I'll say in that regard.
No, agreed. Well said. Let's move on then to the player of the tournament, who is Dave Warner. Benny's favourite player. I did say to you, Benny, didn't I? I said when you were doing the live stream, I said I think he's going to get it. I think rightly, though, some people said that Zampa should get it. There's a lot of people saying he should. I mean, he bowled very well for the tournament. I think underrated. And, bowlers are sometimes, well, for the most part, overlooked for these.
Always overlooked. Always.
Yeah, which is a shame, honestly. It is.
It is.
Even as a batsman, I can admit that. And obviously, Bob Rosm is another one. He's a top run scorer, captained really well. So a lot of people were, not just Pakistanis, I think, actually, to be fair, other people have also said it. Is another one. And I guess the last one is Hasaranga, who I know, Aaron, you're pushing forward. I think it's been I love Hasaranga. I genuinely love him. I just think it's very rare that you have someone who hasn't got through the group stages to get it. But, if he's been that phenomenal, then sometimes it's hard to. And we'll get into the stats as well for them. But I want to get your initial thoughts. I'll go to you first, Venu, actually. Who do you think should have got player of the tournament?
Is that to me, Kazan?
Yeah.
So I think I made this point during live stream yesterday. I think Adam Zampa. I thought he bowled really well during this tournament, especially in the final. Very tight in semi-final as well. He was taking key wickets, and as a spinner as well. And to make a statement as well, he's and the young man as well. I thought I would have given Adam Zampa, and as you both said, I do think they always tend to give it to a batter.
Yeah.
And also, I must say, Josh Hazlewood as well is another bowler who's really stood out for Australia. He was fantastic yesterday. Apart from the drop catch, his bowling was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. Apart from the semi-final against us, where he got absolutely destroyed, he's been pretty good. He's been very good, actually, to be fair. I think that's a bit harsh to say pretty good. He's been very good. So, and everyone can have a bad game. Trent Boult got hit in the semi-final and then bowled really well yesterday as well. So that happens. And in terms of the stats for Adam Zampa, I'll just reel them off so I guess the viewers know. So 13 wickets, an average of 12, an economy of only 5.81. So I think that kind of says it. Well, he also had the best figures in the tournament of 5 for 19 against Bangladesh. He also had the opportunity of a hat-trick in that where Matthew Wade dropped the nick behind, and obviously he's really upset about that. And there's a video of him, it's like a little clip, like a short or a reel or whatever it is, 30-second clip of him saying to Matthew Wade, I was on my hat-trick, and he goes, well, I tried to catch it, and then, a little bit of banter between them. But he's been very underrated. He's got fantastic googly. He doesn't turn the ball as much as some leg spinners, but his control, I think, is the best word to put it, is very, very good. And it's improved. He trusts himself more with his flight. He's got good variations, very good IQ as well. And I think, I think when we talked about this in Australia, when Australia played England about a year ago, or maybe just under, I said he's alongside Adil Rashid, he's probably those two are the best two spinners in the world, is how I had it.
Ooh.
How I had that at that time. Now I think he's up there. The discussion for that, like in terms of white ball cricket, that is. The discussion for that, obviously, we can have probably in another video. But I mean, Aaron, you're welcome to also chime in. Hasaranga's up there as well now. But obviously, he's only just broken onto the scene. What about for you then? Who gets your player of the tournament?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'd love to say Hasaranga. 16 wickets, a 5.20 economy rate as well. And I go back to one of the funniest post-match interviews of this World Cup. It was with Harsha Bogle, and he was asking Wanindu, what role do you see yourself playing? And he said a batting all-rounder. A batting all-rounder taking 16 wickets with a 5.2 economy rate. Imagine if he spent even more time bowling. He'd have had 20 wickets. So Wanindu Hasaranga de Silva, watch out for this guy. Let me just tell you, he is an absolute star in the making. So if I'm being sentimental, he would be my personal pick for player of the tournament.
Yeah.
But I suppose I have to agree with you two. Adam Zampa, absolutely phenomenal. Again, before this tournament, a lot of people don't usually put him in the mix when it comes to best spinners. And even then, I had a bit of reaction, didn't I, when I said that you put him alongside Adil Rashid. In my opinion, right now, he is a top 5 spinner in white ball cricket, along with the likes of Adil Rashid, Tabraiz Shamsi, Wanindu Hasaranga and Rashid Khan. I think they are the top 5 spin bowlers in T20I cricket right now, in my opinion. When it comes to finger spin, when it comes to leg spin in particular, maybe there could be a couple of finger spinners. Shadab's up there as well. He just needs ball control. Sometimes he searches for wickets a bit too much, but that's something which has been not eliminated entirely, but something which has been reduced in Adam Zampa's game. I think since 2019, really, since the start of 2020, he's slowed things down. And Faizan, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head when you said he trusts his flight. He trusts his guile, his deception. He used to fire in these short sliders and he'd get absolutely pumped. He'd get pumped to the boundary. He'd have a really good over. He'd search for a wicket and all of a sudden a 5 or 6 run over goes for 12. That was Adam Zampa's problem. Now he trusts himself. And I say this all the time with spinners. As you peak, as you mature, as you develop your game, that tends to happen more and more often. That's why we have spinners becoming better at the age of 28, 29, 30 years of age. So Adam Zampa, outstanding, brilliant yet again in the final. And I'm going to be honest, I think people now, a bit like with New Zealand, need to start putting some more respect on Adam Zampa's name. He's a more than capable leg spinner. He's been outstanding in this tournament for Australia. When we look back in a few years' time as well, we'll look at him, Josh Hazlewood, Warner Marsh, a number of those Aussie players and say those were the integral pillars of Australia's success. So for me personally, sentimental, I'd go Hasaranga. If I'm being a bit more objective, looking at a wider tournament perspective, we'll go with Adam Zampa. Why not?
That was a very strong argument for Adam Zampa. My player of the tournament is Barbara Azam.
Well, he's up there, isn't he? 303 runs. The only key was the strike rate, 126. Compare that to David Warner's. I think his was 145 or 146.
Yeah, I mean the strike rate is different. I think I was just saying that because obviously you're saying that you agree with me, but I hadn't given mine, so I thought I'd chuck in Barbara. Look, Barbara Azam was very, very good. I think if we win the World Cup, I think he gets it for sure. He's like a certain to get it because he batted that well throughout, and he captained really well for the most part as well. And obviously his strike rate 126. People might look at it and say, "Oh, it's not that high," but that's his role in the team. In a team that can be quite fragile for the most part, and at an average of 60, 61, and 303 runs, top run scorer kind of says it all. He's a class act, and there's a reason why he's the number 1 T20 and ODI batsman in the world, and in my opinion, best white ball batsman in the world. Anyway. The rankings don't always reflect that, to be fair. But I think with him, it does. If that makes currently, anyway. Kohli, obviously, we know has been probably the best white ball player.
I was going to say Joss.
Me too.
But no, I don't know. His ODI record's not fantastic, though. T20s is phenomenal.
Yeah, but you say that Joss comes up with these knocks now and again. I think that's 2018. And when we whitewashed Australia, and it was that final game of the series, and England won by 1 wicket, and Joss scored 100 at Old Trafford. It was outstanding.
No, agreed. I think maybe the reason why I don't see it as much is because England don't need to rely on him as much. Whereas in Pakistan, you see it more from Babar Azam because we literally have to rely on him because we don't have as kind of big and bad batting lineup as England do, really. And that's why, I kind of see it more. But yeah, I mean, Butler, of course, and are the only guy to score a ton as well, right?
Yeah, they're both incredible. They are both absolutely remarkable batsmen. We're lucky to be living in an era where we can even have these discussions, aren't we? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Who's better out of those two? Let's be honest. You'd pay to watch either. So either or.
I'd love to see them bat together because they're very, very different. Butler is that very...
Sign them Warwickshire.
Yeah. It'd be more likely if Bob Rosen played T20 Blast at Lancashire, but...
True.
Yeah. You won't be going to Yorkshire, that's for sure.
Yeah, oh God. On that note, also, Wanindu Hasaranga, to be fair, you said about him being a batting all-rounder. I mean, he had 119 runs at 24, average of 24. Strike rate of 149. Pretty damn good, to be fair. On top of the stats that you said, sorry, go on.
And that's something, as a Sri Lankan fan, obviously disappointed not to make it out the group.
Yeah.
But the future looks good. And ever since Sangakkara went, Dilshan went, Malinga went, you're thinking there's a bit of a rebuild phase, and I'm going to mention Sri Lanka as well. What I find he is, Sri Lanka cricket the ODI team looks good. So especially with Hasaranga in there, and I was pleased with Sri Lanka this tournament.
No, agreed. And don't worry, we're gonna carry on talking about Sri Lanka because we're gonna go through the team of the tournament and then discuss whether there's anyone we want to add. So I'll just bring that up now. Actually, it's an interesting one. I think it's gonna be very interesting.
The Cricket film one and the BBC one are different.
So this is the official one. This is the official one.
The official
T20 tournament. I think it's from a specific company, which I don't care about, Upstox or something. But yeah.
What do you mean by official, Kazan?
So it's the ICC T20 World Cup official team of the tournament. So
do you mean Upstox? Upstox most valuable team of the tournament.
There we go. Yes, exactly what Aaron said. So that's the kind of official one. I know that Wisden, BBC, they've all got slightly different ones. Some have got Shaheen Afridi in them, for example, instead of Josh Hazelwood. But majority of them, like 9 of the players are normally about the same. Yeah, go on, Venu.
I'll put Aaron Finch in there because he's been winning all the tosses.
God. But that's just sheer luck.
7 out of 8 this tournament, or 6 out of 7?
6 out of 7. But it's sheer luck, though. You can't get
it. But you could put him 12th man.
He has to be there.
Just to do the coin toss.
Yeah, exactly. Wheel him out for the coin toss. Perfect.
Oh, God. So if we go through then, I'll just quickly read off this kind of why they put them in there, and then we can, I guess, talk about whether we think they're deserving and whether they shouldn't be. And then if you have a specific word for any player, let me know. So David Warner, 298 runs at a average of 48, strike rate of 147. Obviously played a fantastic knock in the last 2 matches, semi-final and also the final. Joss Butler, 269 runs at 89, strike rate of 151, including a ton against Australia, which was arguably, potentially, the best knock of the tournament, some might say. Bob Rosen, top run scorer, 303 runs at 61, as I said, strike rate of 126. And obviously captained well, no hundreds, but 450s, which is the single most in a tournament, equaling Matthew Hayden and Kohli, apparently. So interesting like that. And Sri Lanka, Venu, he was Sri Lankan, obviously, played really well. Hardly knew anything about him, but he performed so well. He was part of the Under-19 World Cup team with Hasaranga, Kamara, and one other player who I've forgotten, but he was the captain. And he scored 231 runs at 46, strike rate of 147, including 80 of 49 against Bangladesh, which I thought was really impressive, and also 68 of 41 against West Indies, which was a really good knock because that basically, saw them home in that match. Aidan Markram, who I am personally a massive fan of, nearly got him on the show, but basically I need accreditation apparently. Okay, thank you, CA, Cricket South Africa, for that. 162 runs at 54, average of 54, strike rate of 145. And yeah, I mean, he was fantastic, especially at 51 of 26 against West Indies and 52 of 25 against England, which was so good. And he kind of similar to Bob Rosen plays your classical, so-called traditional shots, but he's class enough to be able to pull it off in this format. And there's only a few players that can do that. Kohli, Barbara Azam, Markram, Williamson, kind of a few of them. I'm sure there's some others, but there's probably maximum 10, I think, in the world that can pull it off. Most of them will need to be, well, they have some type of innovation, right? Your laps, your paddles, your reverse sweeps, etc., which is understandable because that's the way the game's going, but he doesn't necessarily need to. He's able to kind of utilize other aspects of his game. Moin Ali, who everyone knows I'm a massive fan of, 92 runs at an average of 46, strike rate of 130 as well, 7 wickets at an average of 11, economy of 5.5, so unbelievable. Which makes it even funnier that he didn't bowl a single over against Australia because of the threat of Finch and the matchup, but it turned out well for England there, to be fair to him. Really consistent spells of 1 for 27, 2 for 17, 2 for 18, 2 for 15, and also that really good knock against New Zealand of 51 not out of 37, which unfortunately was in vain. So that was, as Venu said, he probably should have been on all the newspapers' headlines, but because they lost, he wouldn't be. So unfortunately for him. Windu Hasaranga, I won't go through his stats because we know how good he was and we've already discussed them. But 24 years of age and like fantastic googly variations, unbelievable player. And I can't wait to see more of him, honestly. And Adam Zampa, 13 wickets, which we said at 12, an economy of 5.81, and 5 for 19. Josh Hazelwood was really good as well. 11 wickets at 15, an average of 15. Economy of 7.29, not as miserly as some of the others, but he does bowl in the power play 2 at the start, which to be fair, he's normally very much economic in those first 2 overs. It's the second 2 overs where he has got hit, but 4 for 39 against West Indies and 3 for 16 in the final was unbelievable. And then the last 2, Trent Bolt, 13 wickets at an average of 13, economy of 6.25, which is just phenomenal. And he's just been incredible for New Zealand for a number of years. And then Anrich Nortje, who, to be fair, I kind of thought Nortje was a supplementary bowler to Rabada, but in this World Cup, it's kind of been the other way around because Rabada, I think, has been a little bit burnt out and bowled to the ground as well, to be fair to him. But Nortje is definitely burst into the scene. 9 wickets at an average of 11, economy of 5.37, which is incredible. And arguably the quickest bowler of the tournament. I think he shared the quickest ball with Haris Rolfe at 95 miles an hour. So that's the 11th, 12th man who I think is very unlucky to miss out. 7 wickets at an average of 24, economy of 7. That a couple of overs that he bowled, the spells against India and Australia, just phenomenal. And probably, knocked over Sharman KL Rahul in that first match and obviously helped break the duck that Pakistan had against India where we couldn't win a single match against them in the World Cup. Thoughts on the team? I'll start with you, Aaron. Anyone that you think should be included instead of who, or anyone that you would rather pick in there?
Well, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to be honest, pretty much everyone. I'm just going to put someone out there who I don't think anyone seems to be mentioning, but my word, he had a fantastic World Cup, and that's Dwayne Pretorius from South Africa. 9 wickets with a 6.88 economy rate, and you have to remember, Dwayne Pretorius, heading into this tournament, was very much the change bowler for South Africa. He was the 5th / even sometimes 6th bowling option. He wasn't, a Rabada or a Nortje. And yet in this tournament, Pretorius was given the real business end of the innings, the death overs, and he was outstanding. And his economy rate of the death was below 9, which is fantastic. When you compare that to England, and we had a lot of problems at the death with regards to the seamers in this year's tournament, apart from Tamal Mills, every single England bowler was going at over 10s. So with that context, that just shows Dwayne Pretorius has been absolutely outstanding. So it might be a little bit, I'm not going to say controversial, but I think debatable might be a good way of putting it.
Well, it's your team on the tournament, Aaron, so you can do whatever you want.
I might substitute out Anrich Nortje for Dwayne Pretorius.
Okay. And that's the only change, yeah?
Yeah, other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I love Markram. Fantastic. Had a great tournament. Lanka as well. What a find he is for Sri Lankan cricket. Same with Patum Nisanka. I know we didn't see him at his finest in this year's tournament, but again, he's a serious talent, as is Avishka Fernando. So again, I'd agree with what Venu said earlier. Sri Lanka, very, very promising team.
Agreed.
But to be honest, other than that, I'm pretty happy with that team. I don't really think there's any major omissions. Shaheen Shah really unlucky to miss out. But then again, if you look at the stats, what was it, 7 economy rate and a 24 average? Is that comparable with the likes of Nortje, Bolt, Hazelwood, Pretorius?
I think so. It's comparable with Hazelwood. He's got better economy than Hazelwood, but
What about the wickets,
less
though?
wickets. So he's got 11-7, so one less match, I guess. He picked up 3, didn't he? So he was on 8. So I guess you could put him in for Hazelwood. Bolt, I think Bolt, 13 wickets at 13, economy of 6.25. Nortje was very economical, to be fair, at 5s. So yeah, for me, I just think with a new ball, like if I think about who would I want to have the first over in any T20,
Chris Wokes.
no, not Chris Wokes.
Yes.
Shaheen Afridi. Like literally, I'd chuck in the ball and I know that something might happen. And to be fair, like Trent Bolt is a similar type of bowler. He's slightly different. He's not quite as quick, but he's had fantastic control. Probably got slightly better control than Shaheen. But I think Shaheen is just like the spells that, like for me, best spell was against Australia. Like that first over was like almost unplayable. It was so unplayable that Mitch Marsh literally missed one of the balls by like 30 centimeters. His bat was literally like out here, and he looked like he was, like when you have a county player come and play against a village side and they're bowling to them. That's how it looked like. It was just ridiculous. It really was. And Aaron Finch, he got his front pad got blown up before he just about planted his front foot, and he was like, he's out. It was just like he was so late on it. It was bizarre. It was just he was bowling that well, but maybe a bit of bias there. But I just think he is that good. So I'd probably, I don't know, I'd chuck him in for, I would say, very controversial, but I'll go maybe instead of Nortje, just because I think Hazelwood, I like his control. I like what he brings. I think he's very different. And then Trent Bolt was a bit different as well. So maybe that. But apart from that, I agree. I think it's very difficult. Mohamed Rizwan's honourable mention. I think he's the third top highest scorer in the tournament after Bob Ross and David Warner. So I had more runs than Butler, but a slightly worse average because I don't think he got any not outs probably as well. Slightly worse strike rate as well, but he was phenomenal, and also was in the ICU, wasn't he, for 2 days before the Australia match? So yeah, what a knock, to be fair, and what a player. So unlucky to miss out, but that's just how good Butler is, to be fair. And I think, Lanka, I love him. He's so good. Left-hander in there as well to break it up. Really, really good. You've got 2 lefties in there, which is nice. Moin Ali as well, so it's nice and balanced. So I'm kind of happy with that, to be fair. So I'll just Shaheen in for Nortje, and I'm happy. But what about you, Venu?
Yeah, it's good to see 2 Sri Lankans in there, considering they make it out the group stages. And obviously, Moin Ali, my favourite player. Just shows how poor India have been. Not a single Indian player in that lineup.
It's true.
It's just been a poor showing from them. Which has been a letdown this tournament, I'll say. I'm quite happy with this team. Obviously, you made a point on Mohamed Rizwan as well. He can easily fit in there. Obviously, Shaheen Afridi. I think I like to miss out. One player is David Weser of.
Oh yes, my boys.
Yeah.
So I think he hit. I know they played 8 matches because they had to qualify. He is quite high up on the run scoring list, number 6, 227 runs.
Yeah.
And he's also handy with the ball, bowling 28 overs, 6 wickets, the economy of 7.42. So he has honourable mention as a bowling all-rounder. But I'm happy with that team. I think, that's a good team. And it shows South Africa were very unlucky to miss out as well. Nortje and Markram also playing very well.
Yeah.
Van der Dussen also had played well as well during the latter end. And also, I agree with Aaron with Dwayne Pretorius as well. So, yeah, I'm happy with that tournament, with the team of the tournament. So.
Yeah, and Asif Ali as well, to be fair. I have to give him his props. He had a very good tournament apart from the duck against Australia. He won us probably 2 games. Against Afghanistan, what we need, I think it was, I always forget, I think it was like 24 off 8 balls or something ridiculous, and he managed to get us over the line. So, that was incredible. And also against New Zealand, to be fair, where both matches we looked like we could have lost them, and I had no hope in hell that he'd be able to do anything, but he performed really well. So I put my hands up and say, well played to him, to be fair. Don't think he gets the team in the tournament, but he gets a knock against Australia, and he's probably very close to that team. But I agree, Venu. David Weiss is a very good player. He's actually been very good in the PSL recently. He plays for our team, the Hawk Lunders. Venu, your favourite team as well. But yeah, very interesting. So I think I'm pretty happy with most of that. To be fair, West Indies. I want to finish up on West Indies and India. Obviously, two teams. India especially, I think, were like certain. I know, Aaron, you got them in the sweepstake, unfortunately, and I think it was Cash that got West Indies. I got Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So Bangladesh completely just screwed me, but Sri Lanka almost did it. I almost did it, to be fair. I'll start with you, Venu. I mean, West Indies and India, I'll kind of pair them up because I think they were equally as disappointing. Were you very surprised? And what do you think in terms of next year? I mean, is it going to be going to have to bring a completely different team, or how do they approach it?
I think complete new team, more potentially for West Indies. They've got a bit of an aging team with, I think Gale, Dwayne Bravo, I think playing their last T20 internationals, and Andre Russell getting older, and they've got older some older players there. India, I think, will be more or less the same. They've got some quality players in the ranks. I do think they did seem a bit tired after the IPL, but it's a massive letdown. I think we could have said a month ago that we reckon West Indies and India will make the outer groups stages.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me here?
Yeah, I think I went pretty left field and said New Zealand, Pakistan, but I think, to be fair, I would have, like, if India made it out, I think most people pretty much had India certains. A lot of people had India and West Indies in the final. That's literally
yeah. And that's probably why they didn't make it, knowing my prediction streak. So apologies to the fans of the men in maroon and the men in blue out there, but no, it was disappointing for both. And I'm going to be honest, I agree with Venu's point. I do think in terms of changes, India will make some changes, and I think next year's IPL will also take into consideration with regards to what changes they make. Could we see the likes of a Ruturaj Gaikwad in there, for example? Could we see the likes of a Harshal Patel maybe coming through the ranks as well? But with regards to the West Indies, may I just say one thing, and I just could not understand this throughout the entire tournament. I understand Obed McCoy, fantastic bowler, and I'm not saying I'd change him in the squad. He needs to go to Australia next year, but how was Jason Holder not in that team from the get-go?
Yeah, crazy. I'll say this to Venu. Carnage. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. He's so good.
But with that being said, with Dwayne Bravo, the champion, retiring, happy retirement to Dwayne Bravo as well, of course, the DJ, one of the finest T20 bowlers ever. In fact, has the most wickets by any T20 bowler in the format. But Jason Holder has to walk into that West Indies team next year. He provided so much stability with the ball, with the bats, good fielder, good leader as well, for Kieron Pollard to almost bounce off of. So I expect more from them next year. I think that's a given, to be completely honest. In terms of who I think are going to do better, on paper, I'd say India. I think with this West Indies team, they are going to go through this period of transition now. They've had two fantastic campaigns in 2012, 2016, 2014 as well. Let's not forget they did quite well in that tournament as well. They didn't quite get there, though, did they, in the end, with regards to the playoffs? But no, I do think next year India will come back with a vengeance. And to be honest, when you have a tournament like this, when you have a really, really bad tournament, I think back to England in 2015, the next tournament, that's where you really have to watch out for a team like that, because these are teams with caliber, pedigree. They're going to have Rohit Sharma as captain. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But I fancy India to come back strong, to be honest, in Australia come 2022.
Yeah, I think you're both right. I think West Indies obviously are going to go through a bigger transitional period. I think India will go in their own type of transition with a change of captain, change of coach, potentially a change of approach.
They need a change of approach. Let's just put that out there. India need a change of approach massively. Their approach to batting in particular was not good enough. And to be honest, the bowling was a little bit toothless as well. I know that the majority of the focus has been on the batting front, but the bowling as well. Who was there to kind of, be the foil for Jasprit Bumrah? Because usually you have the likes of a Yuzvendra Chahal, or in times gone by called it Yadav, you'd have that strike bowler. And unfortunately for India this year, they just didn't have that. So that's another area they need to look at next year. Are they going to stick with Varun Chakravarti, or do you go with someone like Yuzvendra Chahal? Personally, I'd go with the latter. I think Chahal has been, I'm not going to say harshly treated by India, but I feel as though he would have been a better option in this World Cup. They didn't even use Rahul Chahar. Rahul Chahar was in the team. They didn't play a leg spinner in the UAE, which I just could not believe. Look at the likes of Australia with Zampa, Sri Lanka with Hasaranga. South Africa with Shamsi, England with Rashid. So definitely, India need to make changes next year, and I expect a lot more from them because I had them as favourites. I love Indian cricket, and I want to see them up there competing.
Yeah, I don't. No, I'm just...
No,
Aaron's face. No. Look, they're a powerhouse, no doubt, and I'm sure they will pick up. And we saw how good they were, for example, against Australia in the Test series, right? I mean, that really famous victory, of course. And they will, I think, with their paces as well, they will have some success.
Imagine if they bring in Umran Malik. That would be that'd be an outside shout, wouldn't it? Umran Malik, 147 kilometers an hour on the bouncy surfaces of Australia. That'd be interesting. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be interesting to see a guy like him. I think Khalil Ahmed's gone a little bit off the radar. So in terms of express pace, let's not forget as well, they didn't have Tangarasu Natarajan.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, they've got Natarajan, they've got Deepak Chahar and all the others. So they've definitely got a lot of bowlers to call upon. But we'll see. I think I said it before this tournament that I think obviously the IPL being in the UAE and the World Cup being in the UAE was almost when you said about them being tied, but it's up to the players. The players really cared that much, and they didn't want to. They were worried about being tired. Don't play in the IPL. But they have a choice. To be fair, but they didn't want to. A lot of the international players didn't do it. So the second half they didn't. Butler didn't play in it. I think quite a few others. I forgot who it was, but there's a number of players that didn't. They chose not to. Bester, for example.
Wokes opted out of his
and obviously that money's a factor, but missing one IPL when especially if you're a big enough player, you're going to get picked next year. It's not really an issue, but I understand that point of view, so I don't think that can be used as an excuse. And the fact is that I know the conditions were slightly different, but it's the same pitches in terms of the same stadiums, so that does play a factor. Whereas next year it's going to be in India, obviously, hopefully again, with the situation being okay in India.
In Australia.
No, as in the IPL. The IPL will be in India.
There we go.
Which, as I was saying, hopefully with the conditions obviously being okay in the country.
When RCB win.
And the World Cup will be in Australia, so very, very different. So how much emphasis can they put on the IPL transitioning to Australia? Probably not much, honestly, if I'm being truthful in that. But so we'll see how that plays out. But we've seen that India can play in all different conditions, so they'll be back. West Indies will enjoy the seamers. They need to invest in their seamers. Holder will have success there, obviously. So would Ben McCoy. I think. Who's it? Thomas. I mean, he needs to get tighter, more consistent, and he's a real threat. As we saw, me and Venu saw Pakistan West Indies live in the 2019 World Cup, where Shane Thomas absolutely ripped through us, and Venu drove about 5 hours, and we were only there for about 2 hours. As Shane Thomas completely ripped through us. So he's a really talented bowler, but just needs to get himself fit. And I was really disappointed that he's Hayden Walsh Jr., friend of the show who I've interviewed, because he was really good against Australia in the series before the World Cup, and also the prior series as well, where he bowled really well as the lead spinner. Obviously, Fabian Allen got injured. They brought in Achilles and they put him as the lead spinner. They dropped Hayden Walsh, and I thought that was, I was like, look, he's a wrist spinner. One, he's improved a lot. He's clearly taken a lot of wickets. But keep your trust in him. They didn't, and they went with Achilles. He's got more control, but he's got less wicket taking ability. Personally, is how I see it. But in Australia, I don't know how much of a factor that will be, but a bit disappointed in that tournament in terms of their decision making here. And Jason Holder is just like a no brainer. Like, what was that about? Who knows? To finish off on then England, and then we'll wrap it up. Venu, I mean, England will be a little bit disappointed, but they'll be back, won't they, next year? I mean, they're just that good.
100%. Let's not forget they missed Jofra Archer. No Ben Stokes. Who else?
Simon Mills got injured.
Simon Mills got injured.
As did Roy.
Roy
got injured towards the end.
So, 5 first team players got not there.
I don't think Ben Stokes gets into the side. I said this to Aaron. Aaron doesn't agree with me, but I don't think he gets into the side. Where does he bat?
3.
But Dawud Malan will bat so well in Australia. He'll love it in Australia.
Okay, so but Jofra Archer gets in there. They
the other 4,
one of the best. And Sam Curran. Let's not forget Sam Curran as well. So England will bounce back strongly. It's the fact that Archer hopefully will come back to full fitness next year. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think they'll come back strong. And
Can you imagine Archer, Wood, and Mills all in the same team? In
Will it happen?
Australia.
Australia?
Rapid.
Will Rashid? Will they play spin and Rashid? They will do.
Yeah, they'll definitely play a
I
spin.
think Moeen Ali will be in as a more of a batsman potentially, but
Yeah.
But he'll play because for control probably.
yeah, but look.
Oh, we got
let's
Livy as
face
well,
it.
though.
What's that?
We got Livingston.
Oh, of course. He was.
That is going to be interesting.
Yeah, because he can bowl. He was more of a bowler this tournament, wasn't he? He was a fine
which was interesting.
bowling.
But you know what? Surely he'll get figured out at some point. I just feel like because they know he's going to bowl spin to left-handers, leg spin to the right-handers, and he's handy. But I feel like it's it's like the novelty at the start when you face someone and you're not quite able to adjust, and then they should really have a lot of tape on him and be able to look at him and say he's not as good as like an Adil Rashid and anyone else. Like he doesn't have loads of variations. He's just tight. Does that make sense? Or
yeah, I get what you're saying, but he can hit huge sixes as well. England will come back strong. I don't know like what you both think. Probably one of the favourites for next year. Probably they'll this time next year. Morgan will be 36 or 37. I mean, Moeen Ali will be at 35. They'll have a bit of an aging team, a bit like the Australians right now in terms of the batting lineup. But if Archer comes back fit, Tamil Mills back, they're all fully fit. They'll be all right.
The biggest question, Aaron, is does Wokes get into the team for Australia?
Well,
hang
on. If England need wickets in the power play, there's no one better than Chris Wokes. And he showed that he was the top power play wicket taker in this year's competition. So put some respect on Chris Wokes' name. I know he had some poor overs at the death. He's not a death bowler. It's like me coming onto this show and then we start talking about some random sport like horse racing. Okay, I'd be out of my depth as well. But the fact is, Chris Wokes is an absolute bona fide wicket-taking machine in overs 1 to 6, and England didn't utilise him correctly. So I'm going to stand up for Chris Wokes. That is a hill I'm willing to die on, and always will be, because Chris Wokes is a legend here in the Midlands. But the fact is, when it comes to England next year, I agree with Venu. I do think we're going to be up there. But then again, if this World Cup has taught us absolutely anything when it comes to T20 cricket compared to Test cricket or ODI cricket, rankings mean nothing. Agreed, Australia are 6th in the world. They'd just come off of being battered 4-1 by Bangladesh in Dhaka. England were top. You have Pakistan up there as well. India are right up there in the rankings as well. None of them have won. It's been Australia. So come 2022, again, I'm not going to say England. I'm not going to predict England because I don't want to put the jinx on them.
Aaron.
Exactly. That's like putting the curse on them. So I'm not going to do that for 1 second. But I expect them to come back strong yet again. We do have a quote-unquote aging team, but even then in English cricket right now, we've got so many players coming up through the ranks. I mean, Livy's going to be up there. Phil Salt's another one. Will Jacks from your county of Surrey, Venu. Fantastic young player. Chris Benjamin from Warwickshire. Dan Mousley from Warwickshire. Like, the fact is, England are sorted for years. We've got an excellent system here. I have no issues with regards to our white ball formats. The red ball probably could do with a little bit of help, and we'll have to wait and see how we do in the Ashes, but I expect England to come back strong. I expect India to come back strong. And I think 2022, bring it on. Should be a fantastic tournament.
And Pakistan will win the tournament. Venu, what do you think?
They could do. They're up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made a good point, Aaron, about England. And I think, do you think that the next year's World Cup need a change of format?
Ooh. You mean in terms of... before you say that, actually, Venu, you made a really good point yesterday to me about... You said every World Cup, the favourite has never gone on to win.
Yeah, so Nasser Hussain, I started off with Nasser Hussain. So since the start of the T20 World Cup, the favourite team, the bookies' favourite to win the tournament, has never gone on to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
And
shows how unpredictable it is, right? It's just
unpredictable.
1 over, 1 knock. It just changes it because it's such a short format.
And the toss. I think obviously Australian media will not be talking about the toss, but I'm sure we all are. But come on, we got to talk. The semi-final, it has favoured the team that we're chasing.
Yeah, go on. Aaron's got his stats. He's bringing up his stats. Go on.
Yeah, so
go on, Aaron. Sorry.
In night games in Dubai, Venu, I'll pass straight over to you again after this. But in night games in Dubai, 9 out of 9 games won by the team that won the toss and elected to bat second. And overall, so out of 44 games, 66% of games were won by the teams winning the toss and batting second. So there was a massive, massive difference. There's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, I think, and I think at the start there was definitely a huge. And I said this to Venu, like dew was a huge factor in chasing, especially in the night game. I think it became less of a factor towards the back end, and we did see there was like an over. To be fair, in both semi-finals where it turned, and it could have gone either way. I think there's still a slight advantage chasing, because I feel like in the big matches, you know what total it is, you can kind of adjust and then actually, structurally as a batting unit, you know what you need to do. I feel like nowadays chasing is more favourable anyway for a lot of teams. Venu, what do you think in terms of the toss then? I know you were saying that you are not too happy about how...
like the World Cup should be the team that are the best in that format should be the champions, right? You see that with New Zealand in the Test Championship.
Yeah.
No argument there. England with 50 over format, no argument there. Australia now, current champions. Come on. So I think they didn't get lucky with the toss. Let's not take anything away from Australians, right? They were great in the semi-final and the final. However, the fact they won both tosses, they knew what to chase. I think there needs to be a change in format. And in terms of, I've heard maybe playing a best of three. Let's face it, if Pakistan and England played a 5-match T20 series against Australia, they'd be winning it 4-1 or 3-2. 4-1. I was England will win that.
Unless Australia win all the tosses. No, I'm joking. I think so. No. I get what you're saying.
Why not like baseball, where they have the final, the best of three.
Okay.
Whoever wins the first toss means the other team will choose what they battle about the second game, and if they need to choose for the third one, I'm sure they'll come up with a way. But it has to change. You just can't have that.
I know what you're saying, Venu, but I think that's what adds to the excitement of it. And the T20 World Cup is one of so the World Cup so for me the pinnacle is ODI World Cup, right?
Easily.
Anyone that says this is T20 World Cup, like I don't even compute that. I think ODI World Cup is. So the ODI World Cup, to be fair, in pretty much every World Cup, the best team has gone on to win. Arguably, as I'm a Pakistan fan, I might say in the '99 World Cup, but to be fair, the Australian team was incredible. I felt like we played the best up until the final. We were absolutely stuffed in the final by a very good Australian side.
It's nice to know that you're over that now, Faizan.
Exactly, I'm over it.
What was it, 22 years ago?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's like me with RCB, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas that 99 team was better than the 92 team, which won the World Cup. But anyway, this literally, I think the ODI World Cup, because it's a longer format, and as you said, Ben, in the Test Championship, right? It's a longer format. There's more time to, I think, iron out the kind of, what's the word? The variables, the kind of advantage that you get, for example, with a toss, and also any other kind of unseen variables as well in a shorter format where one over turns the game. For example, Sodhi having a bad over, Jordan going for 21 in that over against New Zealand, Neesham hitting him everywhere, right? Hassan Ali dropping the catch and then going for runs as well in his previous over, right? And that's it. Games turn on its head. In Test match cricket, there's less of that because it's just a much longer format. Same with the ODI format. But I think the whole point of T20 is that it is that unpredictable, and it's about who can adapt the quickest to the changes as the game goes on. So you've got all the analytics, and then it's just who can adapt. So I get what you mean about the best of three, but I think if you have best of three, it kind of defeats the purpose of then having a shorter format World Cup, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then you one, have it longer, and then two, does that mean that the nations that, like Namibia, for example, who have the chance to come through, does it mean that then you shorten it again because you're saying, oh, you can't have a chance because we need to then have more matches? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get your point. And also the fact that in this tournament, England didn't play India this tournament. So, but which
that's the seedings, right? So that's what I said to you, and we were talking about this, which is it's all to do with revenue. So Pakistan and India generate the most revenue, so they always play them together in a group. Really, what it should be like tennis and other sports, like football, where it's seeded and then it's random. So then that's how it should be. But the problem is that the ICC, they generate all their money back from Pakistan and India. So they always do that match first in one group. That's what they do. Like, it's just how it is. And then normally India stuff us, but luckily we won this time. But anyway, so they do that.
Shameless that.
Well, yeah, because they do.
How many times you mention it in this call it a podcast now. But this show.
No, because normally we get absolutely stuffed. Like,
no, it's true.
And that's what I actually said to Venu before the World Cup. I don't want us to be in the same group. Not because we kept on losing, which obviously was really hurtful anyway, but it's just like it's not how it should be. It should be random, right? Yeah. And that's why they always put England and Australia together as well, because they know, right? There's a lot more interest around that than England and Pakistan, for example, in a group match.
Oh, I don't know. In a
Really?
T20, I'd rather take on Pakistan. Yes, we have some great games. I love it when we play Pakistan.
No, as in but the general fans, don't you think, in terms of the people that aren't English in Australia?
No, I'm going to be honest. I think England-Pakistan, that is a blockbuster fixture. I'm really... see, that's what I'm a little bit annoyed about with this format, that we didn't get to see that. Because they're two of the most exciting teams on the planet. Like, they were everyone's finalists when we got to the group stage. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen us play Pakistan. So, ICC, if you're listening...
Yeah.
Okay. Or watching, whatever medium you choose. England, Pakistan in 2022.
Aaron
I want to see it.
Fiver. Exactly.
Well, no, I can't do that. That's against the integrity of the game. But no, I just want to see it happen.
Spirit of cricket. Why don't they do a Super 12 then? So, Venu, you're saying that they could do that, couldn't they? Like the 2019 World Cup.
But the issue is that it would prolong the tournament.
It would, yeah.
And also you have like Namibia and Scotland. They have a chance to play the big guys as well. But one thing, why don't they just do the top team? So England and Pakistan qualify to get into the final.
Like the PSL or IPL, where they do
2 and 2 play eliminator. And the loser of 1 and 1 will play the winner of 2 and 2.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair because that means you will get a spectacle of 1 and 1 playing. We would have got England versus Pakistan.
Yeah. So you're saying England versus Pakistan, and then whoever wins goes to the final. Then the loser. So say England went to the final, then Pakistan would play the winner of Australia versus New Zealand for their chance for the final, basically.
Correct. I think that probably adds 2 more games, or 1 game.
I think it's only one game. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's 1 more game.
So if you all agree with me, why don't we write next to ICC?
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, they could do it that way. Did you know what my best format is? Is if they just chucked in Papua New Guinea, Namibia, everyone into like 4 groups, and they just had it like that, and then the top team from each group or something, or if they're 4 groups, maybe the top 2, and you do it like that.
Like the old World
you know how you
Cups.
used to do it in the old World Cups.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. Like, give them opportunity to face the other teams, not just in qualifying, but like. Not like if they've already qualified for the qualifiers, instead of that, just let them qualify for the whole thing and just chuck them in there with them in the mix. Why not? And then you'll see the catches like that Devrock catch, or for Bermuda, for example. You'll see stuff like that, and everyone will remember it. Like you will see crazy moments like that. Netherlands beating England, Netherlands beating Pakistan. Like it will happen.
Ireland beating Pakistan and Ireland beating England.
Ireland beating England. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Like why not? Make it happen. But again, like it's probably just more games, right? That's the problem, I guess.
Yeah, that's for another show, to be honest, as well.
Yeah,
we can be sat here all night talking about that.
Suggestion is just only 1 more game. No,
he's like, I just want the 1 more game. He's like, I just wanted England, Pakistan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe. I agree. Cool. Yeah, I'm worried that we've gone on longer than anticipated. A lot longer. Thank you, guys. Is there anything you want to touch before we wrap up?
I must say, my overall conclusion was it's been entertaining. It's been good.
Yeah,
we've seen the quality of cricket has really like the fielding in particular, the boundary fielding has been fantastic. That's really stood out for me. These guys smashing the ball out of the park as well. It's been a very entertaining World Cup.
So there's almost that catch that was it Bairstow and Roy or Bairstow and Jordan, where they did the relay almost, and they almost took a catch where Bairstow was falling, he chucked the ball, and I was like, if they'd taken that catch, if it was clean, that's one of the best catches I've ever seen. Like genuinely, obviously his knee just brushed the boundary as he was doing it, and so it was 6. But I was like, that would have been unbelievable. It really would have been. But yeah, Yeah, Aaron, anything you want to touch on before we wrap up?
To be honest, mostly just, concur with Venu, to be honest. Good tournament. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved seeing Namibia go through, obviously. Many people didn't back them, I did, and have done since 2019. So big up the Eagles. Big up England as well. They did us proud for the most part. Unlucky not to have got through to the final. But no, thoroughly enjoyable tournament. And what is it now? 340 odd days to go until Australia 2022. So can't wait for that as well. And bring on the Ashes.
Bring on the Ashes, exactly. Yeah, which we will be covering on the channel. Probably me and Venu doing some watch-along and stuff as well. So, huh?
Like 1 a.m. in the morning,
yeah, exactly. Yes, mate. Here we go. But yeah, and also do check out Aaron's channel, the County Cricket Podcast. They do have a YouTube channel as well, and also on all good podcast platforms, anyways. With some fantastic guests on. I know you had, oh God, I forgot his name now. Charles Dagnall, didn't you? So yeah, really good pod. So enjoyed it. Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you on the next video.